Welcome to Top City Today. I'm Trey McPherson. I'm here with Keith Tatum. He's running for USD 501 at-large position. Welcome to the show, Keith.
Thanks for having me, Trey.
So tell me about yourself.
Well, I am a native Kansan. I was actually born in Manhattan, but all my formative years have been spent in Topeka. And so I went to Topeka Public School. I'm a graduate of Topeka High. I graduated in 1989, and an interesting tidbit about that is my 30-year high school reunion is this weekend. So I was at Topeka High hanging out with people I haven't seen in 30 years earlier today. I have worked for the state of Kansas for a little over 20 years now. Public service is a big part of my professional background and my work experience. And I'm currently the Director of Training and Staff Development over at the Kansas Neurological Institute.
Wow.
So helping to empower people and work to promote the interests of others is a big driver of my motivation. I'm the father of 8 children, and some of them are adults, but I have currently 2 children who go to Topeka High School, one who goes to Robinson Middle School, one at Meadows Elementary, and 2 at Shawnee Heights Elementary. Public education is very important to me, and I am well entrenched and well invested in the success of the Topeka 501 school district, and I want to make things better for my children and grandchildren, but also for the other children who are a part of the Topeka community.
Having kids in 501, how do you think that will affect your decision making when you're on the board?
I think it'll make things a bit more personal, because there won't be nameless, faceless kids in a vacuum that will be making decisions that impact, but my children specifically. I think it actually would serve to make me a bit more sensitive to the challenges that students are facing. I think it also would help me to be more motivated to fully understand and grasp a lot of these issues, and to be a little more keen and sensitive when things come up that I think may have an impact on my children and other children that I know, and a lot of other children and parents that I'll be coming into contact with as a result of my role on the school board.
What are the top 3 issues that you want to work on when you are elected?
Well, okay, that's a great question, Trey. For me, I think my number 1 priority, and I've said this is the greatest existential threat to our district, the 501 district, and that relates to the issue of school funding and school finance. Most people realize and were pleased last spring when the Kansas Supreme Court decided that school funding was now level across all the school districts of the state, and everybody, said, "Hooray! We finally arrived." There's a conclusion to the Gannon case, and now the Supreme Court has backed the legislature in leveling school funding for all the districts. For our district in 501, that meant that, as I understand it, school funding per pupil increased by about $200 per student. That's phenomenal. But what a lot of folks don't realize is that the legislature isn't bound to follow the dictates or the rulings of the Kansas Supreme Court. So being that is the case, it is entirely possible that even next legislative session, the legislature could decide, no, this isn't something that we want to fund at the current level anymore. For whatever reason, we want to go back to the previous level. And then we're back at square one. So I think how we address those issues, how we work with the legislature as a school district, how we advocate and create functional, constructive working relationships with our lawmakers, I think is a very important part of what I want to prioritize in a meaningful way during my time on the Topeka School Board. I think my second issue that I would really home in on is the graduation rate in the district. I think, if I remember correctly, in the fall of 2019, or I'm sorry, this past spring of 2019, the graduation rate in the 501 district was, I think, 81.78%, just south of 82%, which, when you look at the past several years of the graduation rate in 501, it's ticked up. It was in the upper 70s for the past several years, but it's ticked downward from where it was 10 years or so ago when it was in the 90s. What happened? Furthermore, the graduation rate of Kansas seniors, Kansas high school seniors across the state is 85 or 86%. So currently, yes, we can say that we've made some improvements over the past several years, but we're still below water when it comes to the state average. We need to figure out why that's happening with our high school seniors and figure out how to get things back on track. And then, Trey, I'd say the third thing has to do with kindergarten readiness.
Okay.
Having had children who were in kindergarten, all of my children passed through kindergarten. It's not, today's kindergarten environment is not the same as, say, when we were children, and you just kind of showed up that first day and you learned, you just started wherever you were, and that's how it began. Nowadays, because the dynamics have changed academically, children have to have a certain degree of skills already built in before that very first day in kindergarten, or else they're going to fall behind their peers who've already had those same experiences and those same learning processes. So kindergarten readiness takes place in a multitude of forms. One of the systems that we use here locally is Head Start. And there are a couple of different Head Start programs, but Head Start is the kind of readiness planning that helps children do much better, and they enter into kindergarten their very first day equipped to be successful.
So I want to follow up on the graduation rate issue. Sure. Do you know if there's anything in particular that has caused that slight downturn, or do you have anything in particular that you're hoping to use to try to increase that, or what's your thoughts exactly on how?
Yeah, that's a great question. Nobody seems to know. I've had this conversation with a number of folks in our community, and no one seems to really understand where exactly this went off the rails, or there doesn't seem to be any one particular characteristic that anyone can point to that, okay, that's the reason why our graduation rates dropped. I would imagine that they really have to do more with some greater global and systemic issues that impact the Topeka community that are really kind of outside of what happens during the school building on a day-to-day basis. We know that issues of economic stability within the household, things relating to homelessness, which impacts a surprising number of Topeka 501 students, things having to do with food insecurity and things like that, are probably contributing to some degree in those dynamics. This is a priority issue of mine. While I don't know the answer to this particular issue, I do know that the process starts by us asking the right questions, and I'm prepared to ask those questions to try to get at the heart of what this issue is. because once we fully understand it, then we can really solve it once and for all, hopefully.
Right, you have to know what the issue is before you can find a
Exactly.
solution. So, in your past, we've had some conversation. You mentioned that STEM is really important to you. That's the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics portion of our learning environment. Are you planning to make that more promoted in the school system? Or?
Sure. The Topeka School District is already doing a great job of encouraging STEM. The example that comes to my mind is the work that's being done over at TCALC. And that is really a phenomenal environment that's been created to kind of foster some academic and professional, the kind of really the dovetailing of academia and professional experiences together to allow students the opportunities to explore and experiment with some potential career paths. And a lot of those career paths have to do with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So I think that what the school district is currently doing is right on track. In my experience with encouraging and promoting STEM and STEAM, which is STEM with arts added into the acronym, a lot of that comes from the work that I did when I was the director of the Kansas Mentors Program for the Kansas State Department of Education and the Kansas Volunteer Commission, and as a part of encouraging mentoring between young school-age children and mentors who are already professionals working in those fields. I saw that there were opportunities for the mentors and the mentees to work together, and the mentor could not only be a great role model for the mentee, but could actively help that student begin to explore some things that may shape the future of their life and livelihood. So I like to make sure that we are doing our best to promote STEM and STEAM based activities, in that we're also seeking opportunities to connect our students with mentors that can be very influential along this journey in their lives.
In the current climate, we hear a lot about safety in schools. What is your thought on that very sensitive issue?
Right. So, of course, school safety is vitally important. That's our children who are in a vulnerable position. My children and the children of a lot of other concerned parents in our community. I have to say, first of all, that I think that the Topeka School District has done a fantastic job of lining up a structure being spearheaded by the school resource officers that puts a plan in place, a good plan, that keeps our students and our teachers and other school personnel safe during the course of a day. We can say gratefully that the things that we're all scared are going to happen here in Topeka haven't happened yet, thankfully. And I think a lot of that is due to the good work that the school resource officers and the 501 school police department does on a day-to-day basis at the school buildings. I think that there's a very fine line to cross between giving the students, a great deal of flexibility and letting them just kind of enjoy themselves and enjoy life in the school buildings, to the other side of that spectrum, which is making the school building into some sort of a armored fortress that nobody can get in or get out without, having a, electronic pass and there's armed guards. I'm exaggerating, but those are really the two opposites. And I think that our school officers, our resource officers, and the district department has done a phenomenal job of making both of those things kind of intermarry. So we've got children having the ability to do what they're supposed to do, which is go to school every day and learn and get good grades, while at the same time still being in a protective, constantly a vigilant environment without compromising the former. So kudos to those folks who are doing, those officers doing a great job on a day-to-day basis. I can also say that probably as a result of what has been predicated and planned on previously by the school board has been very conscious about providing resources in terms of capital outlay, capital improvement, dollars into the school safety aspect of administration. And I think in the, I'm trying to remember correctly, but I believe 29%, it may be 29% of it's a very high percentage of the school bond money that the district got a few years ago has gone to issues of school safety and school security and things like that. It's definitely the single highest item on that budget projection compared to all the other items that come in lower rankings under that. So the school board, the school district has taken this issue very seriously, and I think we need to continue to do exactly the same sorts of things that they have already accomplished.
Something that I've been asking all of the candidates running for local office, what is your favorite thing about campaigning?
Meeting the people at the doors. When I ran for Register of Deeds in 2014, previous to that I had also worked on a number of campaigns here locally, and I didn't realize until those experiences were over that I really missed talking to people at their own front doors and getting to know people that I've never met before, and just really just it's hard, it can be hard, grueling work pounding the pavement, but I think the return on that investment, aside from whether you win or you lose an election, it's an opportunity to create more relationships with people that you didn't know before in the community, and you learn a little bit about them that you didn't know, and they learn some things about you that you didn't know, and I think that kind of fosters a collaborative spirit that I think we could all use a lot more of.
Well, Keith, thank you for coming on the program. I very much appreciate it. It's been a very informative interview.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have learned a little bit myself through our conversation here. And thank you for watching Top City Today. Remember to like and share this video with your friends and family, and also look on our page for other interviews with local candidates running for office. I'm Trey McPherson. Thank you for watching. What sets you apart from other candidates running for the at-large position?
Well, I am a parent, as I mentioned earlier. I have several children who go to Topeka Public Schools. I'm also a graduate of Topeka Public Schools. I think I mentioned I graduated from Topeka High. So I'm very well entrenched in and invested in the success of the district. But also I have as part of my academic and professional background, I think really kind of uniquely qualifies me for a role on the board in the at-large position. I am in my job currently, I'm the director of training and staff development at the Kansas Neurological Institute, and I'm also an adjunct professor with human services with at Washburn University. And so I have a good grasp of the methodology and the didactics that are part of teaching in the classroom, but also with helping to ensure individual success, whether it's the success of a student that I'm working with or it's the success of a professional that I'm bringing on board to help nurture and support these individuals to get to a point of maturity and viability. I also, my academic background is I have a master's degree in public administration from the University of Kansas. So I'm one of the few candidates or board members that has some degree of expertise or at least a working knowledge when it comes to evaluating and even crafting public budgets and having some working knowledge of the funding of services and the financing of public goods. And then lastly, I think I really have a great depth of experience in my role in the district previously, because I am the founding chairperson for the 501 Equity Council. And the Equity Council is a group that the school board commissioned to bring together several years ago. And this is a group made up of teachers and administrators and members of the community at large that would come together to inform the board and to give recommendations on issues related to student equity as it impacts performance and learning, and even things having to do with hiring in teachers of color and just things that can help level the playing field for our black and brown students that may be working at a disadvantage compared to their white counterparts. I'm very, very proud of the work that we did on the Equity Council. And I think it's really helped to carry the district far when it comes to dealing with issues of racial equity and equality. Also, I am a past member of the Sheldon Head Start Policy Council. So that kind of harkens back to my understanding of kindergarten readiness. So much more than many of the other candidates, particularly those who are also seeking the at-large position, I'm really kind of positioned in a way to hit the ground running and to be able to use the depth of my experience and my academics to bear for the district and help to make it pay off in a meaningful way.
A recent study found that in the last 25 years, the number of teachers has decreased, and we found that college students are turning away from the profession in droves. What are your thoughts on that issue?
That's, Trey, that's very disheartening to me, but I have to say I'm not completely surprised. We've taken, and speaking for the 501 district, or speaking to the issues related to this as they occur in the 501 district, I know from talking with a great many teachers, there are two things that cause people to leave our district, if not overall in the teaching profession altogether. But the first issue relates to how they're treated, being treated like a peon or an underling. And the second has to do with salary, the amount of money that they're getting paid for the work that they're doing. I think related to the first issue, I was a part of, or I sat in to witness the teacher negotiations as they occurred over the course of this past summer. And I saw a lot of the issues that teachers are wrestling with, issues that have to do with how much plan time they get during the course of a day, and teachers are having to, kind of structure their day around, going to take a bathroom break and or maybe they have to put their bathroom break off in the because they don't have time to go to the bathroom in the morning, so they've got to hold it and go in the afternoon. I don't know of any other profession that treats our professionals, trained, licensed professionals, in this kind of a way. It's not acceptable. And so people leave because they're not being treated fairly or respectfully. But the other issue, as I mentioned, is that people don't feel like they are being paid what they're worth. And that's hard to really quantify, because teachers in the 501 district already get paid more than teachers in the other outlying school districts. But yet, as you mentioned in your question, teachers are still leaving in droves. Paraprofessionals are leaving in droves. So whatever the solution to this issue is, it can't be something that we're throwing money at, because that's not an issue. Everyone across the board, every 501 school employee in August of 2019 got a raise. So again, if it were just a money issue, then we'd have everyone leaving the surrounding school districts coming to us. That doesn't seem to be the case. What we have is a very dedicated core group of educators that love this district and have decided, come hell or high water, this is where they want to be, because they're making a difference and because they love the kids that much. We need to be thankful for them that they're doing this work, but we also need to look for opportunities to reward them for the good job that they're doing, and to bring others in who want to be a part of what I think is a phenomenal example of a school district in very many other ways. So we've got to do better. And again, I don't know what all the solutions are, but we're asking the right questions, and with some time and work and dedication, we can solve this issue too.
Students who are LGBTQ find themselves in a difficult position as they go through the school system in school district these days. What are your thoughts on those related issues?
These are heavy issues, Trey. And I've actually been asked about these types of issues recently during my experiences in campaigning for this position. Shawnee County and our surrounding community really seems to be kind of poised on the edge of a knife right now in terms of LGBTQ issues, and it really seems like it's possible that something momentous could happen, but we don't know which direction that we're going to fall off of the edge. What I do know, what I can tell you, is that every child, no matter who they are, what background they have, what they look like, what language they speak, who they choose to love, they have a right to be their authentic self, and they also have a right to have a quality education. I think that is our main priority, should be our main priority as an educational institution. And whether we're talking about children who are their authentic selves because of transgender issues, or we're talking about students who may come from another country and they don't speak English as their primary language, we need to be creating safe spaces for these children to be their authentic selves, so that they can thrive and be successful and leave the K through 12 system and go on to bigger and better things out in the professional world. If we don't get this right, the failure is on us. And as a father of a child who considers herself authentically to be a member of the LGBTQ community, I think this is pretty important, and I want to get it right, not just for her or for any of my other children who authentically are being themselves, but for anyone else's children and grandchildren out there that are navigating through the same waters. It's important, and it's also important to call out the fact that the current school board and our current superintendent have gotten this right. To me, I believe that they're on the right side of history, because they recently, in the past several years, have addressed these kinds of issues in the 501 student handbook, so that when there's issues that arise relating to someone who is transgender using a particular bathroom, that guidance for the educator, the professional or the administrator is already laid out in the student handbook, and there's a great deal of as they acknowledge in the handbook, some of these things are going to have to be played out on an individual case-by-case basis, but it really does a good job of helping to kind of set the standard for the entirety of the district on how we to approach these particular issues.